Greetings, this is Wanda Carter and the Chicago Communicated News Media with the L B Nixon Report. Today, Lionel will be discussing the U.S. Census, housing, and the Community Benefits Agreement for the Obama Library. Welcome to the show, Lionel.
Good morning, and how are you doing?
I'm doing just wonderful. Let's talk a little bit about, I guess you want to start with the U.S. Census?
Well, you know, the U.S. Census is important. It has to do with the counting of the various populations in the United States throughout the various census tracts.
Okay.
Which comprise the townships and the small cities and the cities and the large urban areas and the metropolitan statistical areas across the United States. There are about 77 metropolitan community statistical areas.
In Chicago?
Across the United States.
Across the United States? Okay.
Right.
All right.
To that end, the United States Census, which is done every 10 years, has a high impact on the amount of resources that neighborhoods that black people live in particular, and in general, the entire population. So, based upon the number of people in a city, a county, and a state, when the United States government operates, they set the federal fiscal year at October 1st. We're about to go into the next federal fiscal year this coming October 1st.
Okay.
That's when all the money and the resources that are budgeted, if you have an approved budget, agreed to by both the United States Senate and the House of Representatives. And that money is allocated after being appropriated and budgeted to various areas across the country. Now, I'll give you an idea. When money comes for housing, in most instances, the normal flow would be for it to come from the United States, and in the case of Chicago, in Washington, D.C., it would come from Washington, D.C., and come to Region 5, which is what Chicago is in.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
The Region 5 consists of Minnesota, Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin, Indiana, and Illinois.
Oh, that's Region 5.
So depending on if there's a Republican or a Democrat in Congress, and depending on how the Congress is controlled democratically or Republican, Region 5 gets approximately 25% of the total resources of the United States of America.
Region 5.
Region 5. Those states that I just named. Again, Minnesota, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Wisconsin, and Illinois.
Wow.
Now, that 5-state area, normally between 25 to 35%, depending on the population that money's chopped up, and as I said, 25 to 35% of that money could go to Illinois.
Mm-hmm. For the schools and the roads.
Based on
and
population, that's precisely the purpose. Healthcare, infrastructure, law enforcement, every conceivable service. And also that money is used to buy equipment for the various municipalities and parts of the intergovernmental system of state, county, city, small city, township, and village.
It says
which are spread across the state of Illinois. Because when it comes to Illinois, 25% of the money from the region, after it gets to Illinois, 25% to 30% of that goes to the city of Chicago, based upon population. Now, for a very long time, there have been villains who have systematically been doing little nasty things, I'll call it, to reduce the population of American black people in particular from inner cities. And in the case of Chicago, last time I checked, every year the census does a projection based upon the data that it runs through its computers. Now, you know, these computers are artificial technology, artificial intelligence. So they don't have no opinion, you know, no emotion, no feeling. They just take the raw data that they've been fed from the previous censuses, which are taken every 10 years, and they extrapolate that information and come up with a projection of what the population will be. So let's just say in 2018 for sure, and 2019, the black population, which was once at least 1.5 million in Chicago, is estimated to be anywhere between the numbers of 881,000 American black people in Chicago to 772. Now, if the population of Chicago is correct, that means that there are about 30% of the population is Latino, 30% of the population is Caucasian, 30% of the population is Black American, and that leaves a balance of everybody else, Asian, Indian, American Indian, Pakistani, Japanese, Chinese, all the other groups. So how do they make some of these statistical determinations? Well, they do it based upon population, numbers that are counted in the United States Census, which is done every 10 years. These little evil things, these are like dirty little secrets that I put out and have been talking to you guys about for many decades. Well, of how they're using these various gentrification or spatial deconcentration strategies to reduce our population, and then every 10 years they do redistricting.
Yeah, because according to the census, it says the results from the 2020 census will be used to determine the number of seats each state has in Congress and your political representation at all levels of government.
let me give you an example. You have the 1st Congressional District with Congressman Bobby Rush. You have the 7th Congressional District with Congressman Danny K. Davis. You have the 2nd Congressional District with Congresswoman Robin Kelly. So over the last 10 years, the city of Chicago has essentially had 3 congressional representatives. And I'll give you an example. Back in 1980, when I was working with then Congressman Harold Washington, the 1st Congressional District of Chicago spread itself figuratively from 103rd Street to 22nd Street, from the lake, and then it was zigzag, not in a straight line, and I just, for the sense of physical representation or imagery, I'll say Western Avenue was compact and concise. And at that time, you had to count 600,000 people to make a congressional district, and because of the Voting Rights Act, 65% of the 1st Congressional District would qualify it to be set up that the lines would be drawn based upon 65% of it or more being occupied by American blacks, giving them a fair chance based upon their population to win a congressional seat. Wow. Now, back in the day, 90% of the 1st Congressional District was black. 92.6. But over time, due to the destructive policies of people like former Mayor Rahm Emanuel, with accelerated demolition programs, oh yeah, there's plenty of blame to pass on the other people, but Rahm Emanuel in various capacities that go from being appointed by Mayor Daley in 1990 as the vice chairman of the CHA, holding position in Congress, holding position as chief of staff to both President Clinton and President Obama, gave him enormous behind-the-scenes power. He even appointed the person with a high recommendation that I had so much conflict with because of my consistent speaking against what they were doing with the spatial deconcentration, pushing blacks out of the city. He appointed the regional administrator, or had a great deal of influence. When I was at HUD in the late 90s, and they said about blowing up, demolishing, or another nice word was invented, imploding more public housing than at any time in the history of this country. Wow. And in various roles, he worked on this process and was involved in carrying the ball for the demolition by a whole lot of his cronies from Los Angeles or from California, where his brother was a multimillionaire. And they did a lot of stuff. Remember Joe Schuldiner? He was from the Los Angeles County Housing Authority, former executive director. A whole bunch of people, in short, who came here who were not from here, that did not have cousins and nieces and mamas and daddies and uncles and aunties, and a serious concern about Chicagoans, particularly the ones like me who are indigenous, born here. And the result was people were put out of public housing, they blow the buildings up, and instead of doing one-on-one replacement, providing the people with a new unit to live in, they gave them a piece of paper called a Section 8 voucher, at that time certificate, and told them, baby, you're on your own. Now, what does all this have to do with the subject in front of us right now, the census? Well, I heard Congressman Danny K. Davis, who's been a really good congressman. I don't agree necessarily with everything that Congressman Davis does, and there are certain people that have existed on his staff that have been nothing but trouble for me. Laying aside all excuses, I have to tell you that Congressman Davis, his heart is in the right place. He's been sitting in that seat for a very long time, one of the most knowledgeable people about the operations of Congress. But, you know, like a lot of these Chicago politicians, you know, they help you for a while, and, you know, maybe when it's not so important, you know, for the need of your help, then, you know, it kind of becomes more difficult to get in contact with them. But I'm not trying to single him out because we've been friends. I've never let any differences or thoughts that I had ever separate my respect and my friendship with Congressman Davis. I haven't talked to him in a while. I used to work for him. But he was talking about that he's going to get out here with a group of people and knock on doors to help people to become interested in filling out the form for the U.S. Census.
Okay.
And I think that that's a very commendable thing.
All right.
You know.
Well, what about the community benefits agreement for the Obama library?
Well, I want to tell you, the community benefits agreement is a very important thing that needs to be done in terms of the proposed Obama Center and the proposed golf course. I think the golf course is a bigger concern to me because golf hole number 12 runs straight through the Nature Center.
Oh.
Now you gotta understand this. This is not no far off stuff. This ain't even rocket science, y'all. In the last 40 years, half the wildlife, species of the wildlife on this planet have been destroyed. Now it took the formulation of various species to evolve over millions of years, but stuff has happened so drastically. You know, part of the climate change problem is part of the positions of the stars and them passing the Earth. Part of it is all of these fossil fuels that we're burning. You know, part of it is the overfishing of the ocean.
Overfishing?
Overfishing of the ocean. It is possible that by the year 2050, the oceans won't have any fish. Wow. Because you gotta understand now, while we eating lamb chops, some of us, some people even eating pork chops. You gotta understand that every one of them animals that was murdered and slaughtered and cut up and fixed in a nice little package that you eating, all of them wanted to live.
Right.
So, you know, they die horrible deaths, screaming, kicking, fighting to save their lives, and you sitting down there putting barbecue sauce on them after you eat them on the grill. Well, in the production of harmful gases that are created in the production of feeding and processing and growing cattle. It has a very, that process We were talking about this the other day, Juan, the gas that comes from when you wear a mask and you're sucking in the gas.
Yes, you're talking about we exhale carbon monoxide.
Yes.
And we inhale oxygen. So when you put the mask on and you're breathing your own breath, which is the carbon monoxide, you are in essence breathing in the carbon monoxide that you just let out.
And carbon monoxide from the production of animals like cows, sheep, goats, everything that you can imagine that's chopped up, murdered, and then picked up real pretty in a little package with a price on it. That creates more carbon monoxide than all of the buses, all of the cars. There are now more cars than people, by the way. So all of these factors that you don't know is necessary in your daily life, think about, are happening and they're affecting the earth.
Yes.
So something as little as the Jackson Park and the South Shore Cultural Park, once the South Shore Country Club Park, nature centers, are refuges for birds. Many species of birds that have been coming to the lakefront for thousands of years. With that being their sanctuary, we're talking about really the last parts of the Great Prairie on the southern lakefront. All of a sudden, there are people that are not from here that get behind the scenes and want to just come in and gangster the nature center, make the beach small at South Shore Country Club, and completely overdo the traffic systems like closing Cornell Avenue in the case of the Obama Center, and making it much more difficult to venture to the beach.
Yeah.
By, fencing a large park. When you take the Obama Center and you add what's proposed with the golf course, you have a total reconfiguration where you can't get into that park except on Jeffrey Avenue or maybe 67 Marquette Road, or 63rd. Now, so you have to look at a community benefits agreement, which, by the way, Obama and them, they have signed an agreement with the Hispanics to provide certain work, construction work with the Hispanics. They seem to be able to do things for everybody, but for some reason, folk are just are scared to say, we're going to do these for these census tracts that are predominantly black. Some of these politicians, they can't get that word out their mouth, black.
Because they are black and or scared.
They can do something for the LBTG.
Yes.
They can do something for the, all these women, and they create all these categories, but we know that really these preferred categories, first in 1866, by Congress, were really created for Indians and black American slaves after slavery. And then fast forward, you had Jim Crow until they came up with the Civil Rights Act of 1964 as amended, the Voting Rights Act of 1965. So, a community benefits agreement doesn't necessarily have to be to a specific group. It can outline goals and objectives that are measurable in the areas by census tract of how and under what circumstances the communities that are adjacent to the Obama Center are going to prevail and benefit.
Okay, Lionel, you have 3 minutes, and we want to touch just basically on housing. So tell us in 3 minutes what we need to know about housing.
Okay, I'm going to tell you that there are homeowner resources, and I'm going to give you a few websites that you can take a look at. You know, one is the Illinois Hardest Hit Programs. That's www.IllinoisHardestHit.org.
All right.
Then you got the Home Affordable Refinance Program. That's a program that you can look up, and it's provided by the Illinois Housing Development Authority.
Okay.
You got the Federal Housing Finance Agency Mortgage Assistance Program. Their website is www.fhfa.gov/homeownership.
Okay.
Mortgage assistance.
Mortgage assistance. Is that for first-time home buyers or?
It can be for first-time home buyers. You get assistance. You can get assistance for refinancing. You can find the ways of how you can develop a journey and a route to forbearance agreements.
Okay.
And then you have Freddie Mac. You got the City of Chicago Micro Market Recovery Program, which is www.cityofchicago.org.
Lionel, we have less than 30 seconds. Give folks your contact information. How can they reach you?
I'm Lionel Nixon. You can find me at CC News Media. I'm international and national correspondent. My phone number is 312-918-2974. I'm on Facebook. I'm president of Illinois Consortium on Housing for the public, affordable, disabled, and senior citizens. And I'm going to give you a phone number that you can call the U.S. Census and get information. 1-877-863-6338. 1-877-863-6338. You got a vote. If not, they're going to mess with your money. But you also have to fill out the census. That's very important.
You heard it here on Chicago Communicated News Media. Thank you, Lionel, for giving us the L B Nixon Report.
There are two types of people in this world. Those who are inspired and those who inspire. Those who constantly long for and those who acquire. No idea is original, yes, there's truth in this, but the person who has the strength to implement the idea always is. Because there are those who have dreams and chase them, but those who sleep waiting to be awakened, unaware that we can make a difference in our existence through hard work, resilience, and persistence. Because a man that wishes to move mountains must realize